Round 9 of the 2004 MX1 World Championship brings us to Gallarate in northern Italy. Michael Pichon almost inevitably once again on pole position, with Josh Coppins second, Stefan Everts third, and Tanel Leok in fourth place for Suzuki. Gallarate right alongside Malpensa Airport, last hosted a Grand Prix in 1992 when the winner was then world champion Donny Schmidt. Dave Nicol once more shown to the side of the track by his hostesses. And the fast left-hand first turn here, causing mayhem amongst the photographers as well as the riders as they run for cover. And it's Steve Ramon who hits the front for KTM. Kevin Strybos is there in second place. Brian Jorgensen also makes a good start, but Cedric Malott goes down. Drops the Yamaha, picks it back up, and will start dead last. This is the 7th Grand Prix here at Gallarate in 42 seasons, as Kevin Strybos takes the lead from Ramon. Strybos leads, Ramon second. In third place, Brian Jorgensen for the Italian Martin Honda team, and his teammate Michael Pichon right behind him as Tanel Leok makes aggressive progress in the mid-pack on his Motorvision Suzuki. This is Ramon, KTM 11. Stefan Everts hanging in behind the Hondas. Great to be back at this superb venue. It's seen some great winners over the years. Georges Jobet won here for Suzuki in 1981. Jaroslav Folter, the legendary Czech rider, won here on CZ in 1974. Number 31, Josh Coppins, hanging on there to the rear fender of 72, Stefan Everts. And Jorgensen has a build-up of traffic behind him. Here comes his teammate. He glances across and then deliberately balks his teammate, Michael Pichon. And Pichon loses it out to Everts, who snatches the opportunity to turn inside him. Well, with teammates like Brian Jorgensen, you don't really need rivals, do you? So Yogi is up there in third place, Everts through to fourth. And the yellow flags are out on one of the downhills. And the Italian wildcard Massini has gone down heavily on bike number 811. The leaders divide and try and avoid him and his motorcycle, and a very second-hand feeling Massini is helped to the trackside by marshals and first aid workers as Brian Jorgensen is forced wide by Everts, but Everts can't find a way through. Yogi's still there. Brian Jorgensen versus Stefan Everts. Tension in the Martin Honda camp. This is the fight for third place. And Michael Pichon just behind them. Superb setting here at Gallarate, close to the Italian Alps. Josh Coppins is also there shadowing the duel. And there finally goes Stefan Everts. He forces Brian Jorgensen out and grabs a place, and that's his dad Harry hanging out that board. Harry Everts, 250 world champion 75 for the Austrian Pooch, and then 3 times for Suzuki in the 125 class, and that's Josh Coppins, number 31, getting mown down. His back wheel stepped out and got hit, and Josh Coppins flicked to the ground. Meantime, at the front, almost unnoticed except by his team, this kid, Kevin Strybos, has pulled out a fairly handsome lead and could just be headed for his first ever Grand Prix race win. That team certainly thinks so. And in 20th place, the first outing for the twin-cylinder 450 four-stroke Aprilia. The famous Italian mark finally making it to the racetrack, and what better place to do it than on home territory here at Gallarate. This is Pichon now on the back wheel of Brian Jorgensen. He knows that Jorgensen will have him down if he can. He takes the wide line round him, and that's safely through. Michael Pichon then making progress. Brian Jorgensen fading a little. Well, you wouldn't call this fading. He's fighting hard, but losing places. After 15 laps, Strybos has a 6-second advantage over Steve Ramon, who in turn is 3 seconds ahead of Everts. Pichon fourth, Jorgensen fifth, Josh Coppins in 6th place. Flying down that magnificent hill where Georges Jouvet and Neil Hudson were fighting out the 1981 250cc World Championship here on an equally beautiful day. Kevin Strybos wants to win this race. Mikhail Pichon wants to get past Stefan Everts. This is the battle for third place. Superb bike control for these guys on this very, very slick, slippery surface. Hurtling downhill once again. Hard braking at the bottom. This is Kevin Strybos in the rhythm section. Looks over his shoulder and it looks like he's safe. That's Yoshi Tsuta, number 27. About to get lapped by the remarkable 18-year-old who takes the checkered flag and wins the first Grand Prix moto of his career. Everts is second, just ahead of Pichon. Ramon is pushed back to fourth by the duelists. Brian Jorgensen fifth, Josh Coppins sixth. Tanel Leoc is seventh. Luigi Segai, the Frenchman on a Yamaha, is eighth. Cedric Malot recovers to ninth place from absolutely last. And Christian Burnham once again in the points, 12th on the Chambers KTM. Prior to race two, Stefan Everts hands out a bit of advice on how to ride this hard-packed track. You have to have throttle control. There are a lot of stones, it's hard-packed, but also underneath, it's very slippery. It's important to look for grip, not be too aggressive with the throttle. Well, we've seen Stefan Everts demonstrate that to perfection on innumerable occasions. Here we are, through the adverse cambered second turn, and then down the first plunge into the valley at Gallerati. The Italian Grand Prix, round 9 in the 2004 championship. There is Everts making a ruthless block pass right away to establish himself in the front pack. Coppins, Pichon and Steve Ramon are at the front. Stefan Everts now fourth. Julian Bill was the young Swiss rider who Everts firmly passed. I use that word kindly. James Noble 8th, 9th Tanel Leoc, 10th Antoine Meol. But Steve Ramon riding KTM. He's in third place, getting pressed now by Stefan Everts, and that is exactly what Stefan was on about. You have to be careful with the throttle control on such a slick track as this. Just a little bit too much power applied, a little too early, taking the tight line, and suddenly he decked that KTM. This is Coppins now getting overtaken by Stefan Everts, and Everts is on a mission. He can see Mikhail Pichon ahead, and he wants to get to grips with the Honda. So at the moment, the Tisciali Martin Honda, an Italian team, is in the lead. Second place, the L&M Rinaldi Yamaha of Stefan Everts, an Italian team with Belgian backing. Who is going to come out on top here at Gallerati? Braking hard, tight right-hand hairpin turn. Mikhail Pichon, he looks relaxed, he looks quick and smooth, but Stefan Everts is right behind him and not giving him a moment's breathing space. The two fastest riders in world motocross at the present time locked together at the front of the pack. Everts, of course, with the advantage in the World Championship, but Pichon knows that the only way back is to keep winning races. Not like that, he won't. Stefan Everts block passes him, almost gives him a wave of apology as he glances over his left shoulder. And Pichon definitely having to give way there. A rueful smile of approval from the L&M Rinaldi camp. Steve Ramon has remounted and is in fourth place, behind Josh Coppins and ahead of Yoshi Tsuta and Kevin Strybos. Strybos then making terrific ground. He's right on the back wheel now of the 26-year-old former Japanese champion. Strybos had made a terrible start in this race and has absolutely surged through the pack. He knows he has an outside chance of winning the overall if he can get far enough back. He gets past Yoshi Tsuta. Antoine Meol, number 43, is in trouble. Meol suddenly pulls over. Julian Bill goes past. Tanel Leoc also charges past with Ken De Deeker and the Sarsholz Honda right there on his back wheel. Well, Antoine Meol, we've only ever seen him having problems during the course of this year on that Molson Kawasaki. The fist is raised, acknowledging Stefan Evert's dominance of the second race here. He's eking out a few vital inches over Mikhail Pichon. Has Pichon got anything in reserve? Everts is usually the man who comes strong later in a race. He's proving it once again here. Pichon hurtles past those inevitable Belgian flags, acknowledging this man, Stefan Everts, with 2 laps to go. And the man with the 2-lap to go board has to step back to avoid being rattled by stones from the back wheel of Pichon's Honda. Stefan Everts has just eked out that small but vital advantage. Surely only a mistake by the Belgian will let Pichon in now. And since that opening Grand Prix, when he was riding injured, Everts has scarcely put a wheel wrong in the ensuing 8 rounds. This is round 9 of the 16-round series. 32 races in all. Mikhail Pichon, former double world champion with Suzuki, chasing the 7-time world champ Stefan Everts. This is Brian Jorgensen, about to get lapped by Stefan Everts. Steps to one side, waves Everts through, like the gentleman he isn't when he's actually racing hard against him. And Stefan Everts takes the checkered flag for victory in the second race here at Gallerati. Second for Mikhail Pichon, third Josh Coppins, and fourth, after a remarkable recovery, Kevin Strybos and his Suzuki. Steve Ramon fifth, and Yoshi Atsuta once again hitting the top 6 for CAS Honda. Cedric Malott down in 10th place, a disappointing 14th for Tanel Leok after going out of race 2. And Christian Burnham, well, 12th place seems to be his for the taking. Stefan Everts takes the overall by 4 points from Kevin Strybos, recording the best race of his brief Grand Prix career. Mikhail Pichon just a point further back in 3rd. Atsuta, lucky 13th overall, ahead of Josep Daubes and behind the perennially 12th place Christian Burnham. The town of Neer-Oteren is in the far east of Belgium, in a rural area close to the Dutch and German borders, a typically flat, green agricultural area. Mikhail Pichon finds himself in pole position once again ahead of Stefan Everts and Kevin Strybos. This small woodland setting contains a former gravel quarry where the narrow course of Neer-Oteren Grand Prix circuit lies. Last hosted a Motocross Grand Prix in 1997. The 125cc Belgian Grand Prix won that day by Frenchman Frédéric Vial. Is that important to come for Mikhail Pichon, the pole position man here in the Belgian sand? The early leader is his teammate Brian Yogi Jorgensen, showing once again at the front in the early stages. Stefan Everts, the immaculate, instantly identifiable style of the gold number 72 in second place, and the equally shiny number 2 of Mikhail Pichon right there alongside him. And Pichon drives underneath the Yamaha to grab an early advantage, to try and surprise the Belgian, beat him into early submission. 4th, Josh Coppins. 5th, Kevin Strybos. 6th place, Steve Ramon. And Everts tries to retaliate, but the line is grabbed from him by Pichon. Tanel Leok in 8th place has taken over the 4-stroke 450 factory Suzuki of Joel Smets, who finds himself in hospital with a blood disorder and quite seriously ill, the former world champion. He will be out for the rest of the year. So Tanel Leok, the Estonia Express, gets his chance on the factory Suzuki as number 2, Mikhail Pichon, hops past his teammate Brian Jorgensen and snatches the lead. Stefan Everts in 3rd place, watching the 2 Hondas play. Oh, and they are playing as, for a moment, Brian Jorgensen charges back underneath and then loses out to Everts. And Pichon has the lead. Everts is 2nd. This time, of course, plenty of Belgian flags around to support the 7-time world champion, as he forces away alongside the Honda. Mikhail Pichon has the advantage of the inside line. Everts forcing the issue early. He doesn't seem to want to wait until later in the race this time. He wants to get to the front and stay there. Incidentally, and down goes Stefan Everts. Suddenly, unexpectedly, the first mistake we've really seen him make since the opening round of this championship. Stefan Everts goes down. Mikael Pichon is clear at the front. And what happened as Stefan came across the hillside? It was the back end that stepped right out, attempted to high side him. He managed to drop at least on the low side, but he didn't manage to keep the engine going. So Everts drops right out of the top six. Pichon leads, Jorgensen second, Strybos third, Ramon, Malott and Josh Coppins rounding out the top half dozen. And Stefan Everts remounts 17 seconds behind Pichon, just ahead of Luigi Segai and Sven Breugelmans. But in the whoops, Cedric Malott has crashed hard on his Yamaha, and it turns out he's broken his thigh. So Cedric Malott crashing drastically out of the Belgian Grand Prix here at Near-Oteren, and he will be out of course for the rest of the year. Meantime, the action on track, Steve Ramon getting pressed hard now by Josh Coppins. Kevin Strybos also involved in the battle. Mikael Pichon at the front has a 6.9 second advantage over teammate Brian Jorgensen. So at the moment, perhaps a comfortable ride for the Frenchman on Belgian territory, as Coppins does everything he can to outwit Steve Ramon. Here comes the 27-year-old Kiwi, launches himself past the young Belgian, swoops round the outside. And up into sixth place now is Stefan Everts on the L&M Rinaldi Yamaha, setting the fastest lap of the race as he tries to recover from that early error. Perfectly poised on the bike as Mikael Pichon enters his last lap. And looks like he's going to take victory here. Head shakes in the Rinaldi camp. And Pichon enjoying the sunshine and enjoying the Belgian terrain after that early challenge from Stefan Everts petered out. So Pichon finally gets another race win under his belt in Belgium. He wins and looks exhausted. Second, Jorgensen for a Martin Honda 1-2. Strybos third, again on the rostrum ahead of Josh Coppins, Steve Ramon, Stefan Everts, Tanel Leok on that 450cc factory Suzuki, and Luigi Segai's Yamaha. Leok also using that bike for the remainder of the season in the British Open Championship. Christian Burnham improving on his customary 12th and nailing 11th place on the Chambers KTM. Reigning world champion Stefan Everts, second fastest in practice, grew up just 2 kilometres from the Near-Oteren track. Like his father before him, a multiple world motocross champion, and he would like to eke out revenge here in race 2 over Mikael Pichon. The lineup then with Pichon once again on pole position. 30 riders charge into the first turn. But it's a Honda once more at the front. No, it's a Suzuki this time. Kevin Strybos launches himself off the pad, and he's into the first turn at the front of the pack. Visibly increasing in confidence, the 18-year-old Kevin Strybos and his 450 four-stroke factory Suzuki lead the way here at Near-Oteren from Stefan Everts. Mikael Pichon's also there in the chasing pack. Brian Jorgensen and Josh Coppins. Coppins is third, Pichon fourth. Three of them side by side. And here comes Mikael Pichon. He breaks through into third place. Once again, the target man for him is Stefan Everts. Ramon breaks through to fourth ahead of Coppins. Brian Jorgensen sixth. And this rough, ready quarry of a circuit, really demanding place. Once again, we've got a lot of Belgians in that leading dozen. 10th, though, Tanel Leok. 11th, the Finn Kovalainen. And just outside the top 12, the quiet man from North Yorkshire, James Noble on the RWJ Honda. Kevin Strybos fighting for the lead with Stefan Everts. And once again, out amongst the trees, over the whoops, the gnarly rut-infested track here at Near-Oteren. The sort of conditions that Stefan Everts was brought up in. And he's helped, of course, by not only his father, but the man who used to train his dad too, Willie Linden, a former Belgian policeman who's been involved with the Everts family since almost time immemorial. Look at Stefan Everts trying to outwit Kevin Strybos, but the youngster holds his line, and that means that Everts has got to go the long way round. Not now, he doesn't. He just blasts the Yamaha through on the left-hand side of the Suzuki. Lawrence van der Koorkamp is the 7-foot-tall gentleman there you saw in picture. He's the boss of the Yamaha Europe competitions department, and he's pretty pleased to see Stefan Everts bursting his way to the front with Mikhail Pichon in pursuit, and Steve Ramon has also got past the Suzuki of Kevin Strybos. So Strybos rapidly pushed backwards after his early lead. Everts coolly looking over his shoulder to check just where Mikhail Pichon is, and Ken de Decker, the tall, lanky 19-year-old on the Saarholz Honda, has moved through into 6th place. Fabulous weather here in Belgium, the temperature up towards 30 degrees, and the rough weather of the early part of the season almost forgotten as we enjoy the sunshine. One man who tried to race here, incidentally, but once again was defeated by the severity of his knee injury, was KTM's Kenneth Gunderson, who's finally been forced to call a halt to his racing for this season, but is guaranteed a spot on the KTM factory squad in 2005. Steve Ramon in 3rd place, over 4 seconds ahead of Josh Coppins, but the gap is a lot smaller between the leaders. Stefan Everts hanging on in front of Mikhail Pichon. Pichon needs the points, but of course he will gain the overall verdict in this Grand Prix, even if he finishes in 2nd place to Everts in race 2. Ramon's KTM. Coppins, the usual spirit of this 27-year-old Kiwi, refusing to give up in his pursuit of Steve Ramon. Kevin Strybos in 5th place, Luigi Segai. Unusual to see another Frenchman doing so well in the sand. He is 6th ahead of Tanel Leok, Brian Jorgensen, Julian Bill. James Noble up into 12th place. At the front, the gap between Pichon and Ramon, 10 seconds. A huge crowd here at Near Oteren to see the local hero in action. And the least he can do is bring them a 2nd race victory, and that is what he is intent on doing. Stefan Everts receiving the applause of the crowd. He's opened up a considerable advantage now over the Tishali Martin Honda. Stefan Everts, 125cc world champion in 91, 250cc world champion in 95, 96 and 97. 500cc world champion 2001 and 2002. MXGP world champion in 2003, leading the MX1 championship in 2004. He takes victory ahead of Mikhail Pichon and Steve Ramon. Josh Coppins 4th, Kevin Strybos 5th. Tanel Leok making it 2 factory Suzukis in the top 7 ahead of Brian Jorgensen on the 2nd Martin Honda. Noble improves 1 place to 11th. And Burnham, for once, not making that 12th place finish. He's down in 15th. Overall, Pichon has the verdict ahead of Everts and Steve Ramon. Strybos might be almost disappointed with not being on the rostrum. He's been getting used to it recently. From Belgium to Sweden, from one quarry to another, this is Uddevalla, and the surprise of the weekend, Stefan Everts, double race winner in 125 and Motocross Grand Prix last year in Sweden, down in 7th place, 2.5 seconds off Pichon's pace. Stefan says he's just not feeling right, but expects to come back strongly during the actual race. There is Everts, number 72, Ken de Decker, number 80 on his right, Tanel Leok and Mikhail Pichon to his left. And on a filthy wet afternoon in Sweden, it initially was Pichon diving off the gate, but Kevin Strybos may be the man who made it to the front. Oh, and it's nasty, it's wet, and it's a gruesome place to fall down. And those guys won't be coming back very fast from there. Stefan Everts picking his way through the sludge and the puddles. He said he'd be back on the case once it came to racing. But Strybos it is who gets the whole shot ahead of Jorgensen, Pichon, Everts fourth, Antti Pirinen, who was transferred from Kurt Suzuki to the Italian TM. A small Italian manufacturer with a new 450cc motocross bike is right there in 5th place. Steve Ramon and Tanel Leok 7th. In 8th and 9th place, 10th Dedeka. And this is Josh Cobbins having to call in and have his clutch adjusted already early in proceedings, so a huge amount of ground for the Cass Honda Kiwi to make up. The battle for second positions between Martin Honda teammates Brian Jorgensen and Mikael Pichon. Note the absence of spectators on the infield. In Finland and Sweden, usually spectators are right round the outside of the track, and in a quarry like this, they're packing the steep sides to the venue. This is the leader, Kevin Strybos, enjoying these murky conditions and the filthy wet circuit at Uddevalla. This is where Stefan Everts won both 125 and MXGPs last year. Joel Smets and Mikael Pichon were the men behind him on the rostrum in the MXGP. Brian Jorgensen at the moment in 2nd place is holding off teammate Pichon. Mikael knows that he needs to garner points. He's got to build up more and more points. He's got to win races to stand a chance of putting any pressure on Stefan Everts in the championship. But there are certainly no team orders between the Martin Honda guys. A colourful sight, the crowd in the background, their waterproofs on, protecting them from the rain and the wind here in Sweden with 10 minutes plus 2 laps left. Brian Jorgensen showing surprising resilience. He is, of course, the nearest at the moment that the Swedes have got to a home man to support. So as far as they're concerned, the Dane is, for the present, a home hero. Which is strange when you consider that, of course, Sweden was one of the most powerful motocross nations right throughout the history of motocross up until recent years. Kevin Strybos in the lead, leaving the battles behind him. He's still holding on to that 5-second advantage. Jorgensen still just holding out over Mikael Pichon and a threatening Stefan Everts. Pichon there, Everts there. Round a track which first saw victory for the Swede Sten Lundin back in 1958 in a World 500cc Championship Grand Prix. A couple of years later it was Bill Nilsson's turn, and Joel Smets has also won here twice in the late 1990s. But right now, as he goes into the last lap, it's Kevin Strybos who's going to follow in those great riders' footsteps. Strybos, number 24, headed for victory in the first race here at Uddevalla. Only scored 7 points here last year. He's going to make that 25 this time around. He still has a 2.8 second gap over Brian Jorgensen. Jorgensen not usually as effective as this when he's riding in such adverse conditions. Just goes to show what riding back home in Scandinavia can do for a man's confidence, determination and motivation. The Suzuki squad really delighted with Kevin Strybos. He comes home to take the victory here at Uddevalla. Squelch, just like that. 2nd place for Brian Jorgensen. And the 18-year-old is really thrilled with that result. Jorgensen gives him a slap of congratulations. Pichon gets 3rd place, holding off Stefan Everts. Antti Pirinen, what a remarkable result for the Italian PM with the Finnish rider. Steve Ramon 6th, Ken Dedeka 7th. Marko Kovalainen of the 29-year-old Finn in 8th place. It's amazing how the Scandinavians come to life here at Uddevalla. And the 2nd TM of Odenino, remarkably, also in the top 10. Josh Coppins, unlucky 13th. One of the strangest rituals in world motocross Grand Prix racing is that of Italian mechanic Marcus Freitas. He is the mechanic for Brian Jorgensen, And he sprinkles salt in every corner of their pit garage before each race to bring the riders luck. Well, it got second place for Jorgensen in race 1. Can he improve in race 2? This is as near as the Dane comes to a home Grand Prix. And he is lined up alongside Jocke Eliasson, a former 250cc Grand Prix regular, as Kevin Strybos clips a back wheel and crashes right off the start. What wretched luck for Strybos, winner of the first race, but there's more calamity ahead of him in turn 1 that at least will hoist him up a couple of places straight away. So Strybos, start to finish leader of race 1, hands the lead to Brian Jorgensen. The salt has worked again. Jorge leads. Jocke Eliasson's also got a good start. Number 111, Jocke Eliasson. Very much a part-timer these days, making a rare appearance on a Honda in this Grand Prix. Has made a brilliant start. He's in third place ahead of Stefan Everts, who tries to put the Swede in his place and succeeds. So Everts moves through to third. Steve Ramon is fifth. Yoshi Tsuta making a bright start. As the weather bucks up, he's in sixth place. In fact, a much better start than his team leader, Josh Coppins, who's back down in 11th place, sandwiched between Marko Kovalinen and Antti Pyränen. This is Eliasson. The Swede's getting excited. How long can the former Grand Prix regular hold out against Steve Ramon? Ramon comes alongside the Honda. The factory KTM stuffs it underneath, but Eliasson immediately responds. He's not going to be put off that easily. He's got a crowd to please. Side by side into the left-hander. Eliasson footing furiously to keep the Honda upright in the ruts. Difficult for Ramon to find a way through. The other ruts off the racing line tend to get a bit sludgy. Oh, and Ramon suffers a huge rear wheel kick that nearly puts him down, but he's getting away now from Eliasson. Meanwhile, at the front, Pichon, Jorgensen and Everts are going hammer and tongs for victory. Pichon has the advantage right now. Everts goes for the outside line. Brian Jorgensen hangs on. That inside line is a lot neater, a lot quicker. Already up to 14th place, Kevin Strybos on the factory Suzuki. Pichon leads now by almost 7 seconds. Everts has got the better of Brian Jorgensen, but Pichon has a handy advantage here in Sweden. Everts still getting urged on track side. And the ruts almost begin to deepen as the track starts to dry out. And Everts goes down. Once again, unexpectedly, Everts just swings around that back end as he drops into the tight left-hander. The bike slews around and Brian Jorgensen goes through. He remounts, still in third place. Behind him, we've got Steve Ramon, Jocke Eliasson and Yoshi Tsuta, and another faller as Brian Jorgensen sails safely past. He's now second. It's a Martin Honda 1-2. Leok 8th, Coppins up to 9th place now with Marko Kovalinen just behind him. James Noble 11th. Kevin Strybos now 12th after that unfortunate crash off the start. Jorgensen with a 6.4 second advantage over Stefan Everts after Everts' mistake. And he knows how tricky this track is. Pichon said between races that the ruts were very, very awkward. You had to concentrate very, very hard. One small lapse and you'd be down. Pichon, Everts, Jorgensen. In fact, that caption is wrong at the moment because it's Jorgensen who got past Everts when Everts made the mistake. Leok is 7th, Coppins now up to 8th, Strybos an amazing 9th. The kid who won the first race is powering his way through the pack and swallowing up riders of excellent calibre here in Sweden. Mikael Pichon nodding his head with glee. You can almost hear him laughing behind that helmet. He's really enjoying himself. Mikael Pichon headed for victory. He's looking like the winner of the Swedish Motocross Grand Prix of 2004. He takes the checkered flag, winner of race 2. And behind him, Stefan Everts makes a late pass on Brian Jorgensen, denying Martin Honda of another 1-2. Jorgensen 3rd, Ramon 4th, and Yoshi Tsuta a brilliant 5th after a late battle with Kevin Strybos, Tanel Leok and Joachim Eliasson. Josh Coppins 9th, Marco Kovalainen in 10th place, and Mark Huckelbridge returning from a mid-season injury, a fine 11th for the Chambers KTM team. Overall then, Pichon, Jorgensen, so thrilled to be on the rostrum. It is a Martin Tishali Honda 1-2 overall ahead of Stefan Everts and Strybos. Remarkable to see Eliasson's name back on a Grand Prix results sheet in the top 10 as well, ahead of Yoshi Tsuta. And the championship, it's turning into a pretty one-horse race for Stefan Everts, but Mikael Pichon has forced his way through into second place. Josh Coppins is third, and Steve Ramon fourth. The Czech Republic Grand Prix, round 12 of the 2004 World Championship, brings us once more to Loket. And following their triumph in Sweden, Mikael Pichon and Brian Jorgensen are fastest and second fastest during time training. Slovenian rider Roman Jelen rides in MX1 this week for Husqvarna, who will return with a full factory squad for the year 2005. The other big news is that L&M Motocross have once again signed world champion Stefan Everts for 2005. Everts, of course, won both the MXGP and the 125cc Grand Prix here in 2003. Number 77, Marco Kovalainen in Finland, right on the outside, gets an attempted good start, but the huge, fast, uphill left-hander is led by a Honda, but I don't think it's Kovalainen, and there's a huge pile-up as they go into that first turn, and I would dare bet Antoine Mayo's one of them. The only time we see the poor lad is when he's on his ear. So Mayo and the Molson Kawasaki pick themselves up once again. He's nothing if not a trier, while the rest of the field pours through this fast track, and Brian Jorgensen is the man at the front in this fabulous woodland setting here in the former Czechoslovakia. Jorgensen leads. Second place for number 24, Kevin Strybos. And it's Thomas Travasini on the Aprilia, who went down with Martin Zaraba and Antoine Mayo in the first turn. So not a good start for the new Aprilia twin. The battle on for placings at the front, Jorgensen. And it's Tanel Leok who's made a flying start. It's Leok, number 40, not Strybos, number 24, it's Leok. The Estonian Express really on the gas, has got his best start of the year, making full use of that 450cc factory Suzuki of Jules Smets. So Tanel Leok there in second place, the curly-haired, just turned 19-year-old from Estonia, leading the KWS British International Series back in the UK, also contesting the British Open Championship. The former 125 star is in the lead. And Sven Breugelmans, number 97, normally riding MX3 for KTM, has also made a blistering start here as a wild card. Oof. And that was Mikael Pichon really hitting the berm hard and nearly upending himself. Then plunging downhill inside Josh Coppins on the Cass Honda and flying uphill inside Tanel Leok's Suzuki. A desperate Mikael Pichon then squeezing through, or trying to squeeze through into second place behind teammate Jorgensen, knowing that Stefan Everts is behind him in fifth place between Coppins and Breugelmans. We rarely see him hanging it out like this. The amazing Mikael Pichon trying now to get past teammate and leader Brian Jorgensen, and he does it. Oh, Mrs. Jorgensen didn't like that. Pichon then at the front after one of the wildest couple of laps we've seen from the Frenchman all year. And that was neat, the way he swapped lines, left Brian trying to defend the outside line and just nipped inside. So Pichon leads. Second, Jorgensen. Third, Leok. Fourth, number 72, inevitably Stefan Everts, who cleverly dives inside Leok as he leaves the barn door open. Jorgensen now behind Stefan Everts, and Coppins has squeezed through into second place. So Everts now third, knows that Pichon is up there ahead. Sergei Breugelmans and Kevin Strybos with Julian Bill in 10th place. The rutted takeoff ramps waiting to catch the unwary. But these guys aren't unwary, they're extremely wary of what they're doing. And look again at the way that Stefan Everts can turn tight, get the power of that Yamaha down and just take off. So he moves through into second place. Pichon on 17 laps leads. But to Charlie Martin Honda looking for yet another race win here. He said that that's the only thing he can do, keep winning races and hope that Stefan Everts might crack. Well, pigs might fly, but you just never know. That was Stefan Everts' fiancée Kelly, who's expecting their first child later this year. Mikael Pichon looking remarkably Everts-like, perfectly poised, weight balanced in the centre of the machine, leaning forward over the bars, relaxed and fast. He takes the checkered flag for the race victory here at Leket in the Czech Republic. Second place for Stefan Everts, third Josh Coppins, fourth Brian Jorgensen, fifth Tanel Leok, finally getting the better of Kevin Strybos on the other 450cc factory Suzuki. Christian Burnham hits the top 10 for once, his regular 12th place going to the 35-year-old veteran Belgian Marnik Bavots. Race 2 here in the Czech Republic. Mikael Pichon once again on pole position. But what about Tanel Leok? A great ride in the first race, and team boss Mark Chamberlain says his corner speed's unbelievable, you know. He just rides with a huge amount of heart, and that's what appeals to me. Well, it also appeals to Jan de Groot, who runs the factory Kawasaki team, because he has signed up Tanel Leok to race the 450 Kawasaki's in 2005. But first, Leok has an appointment with Loket, and on the 450 factory Suzuki, he's looking for a race win. Also looking for the race win, Mikael Pichon. Victorious first time out here in the Czech Republic. Ken Dedeka, eyes on the starting gate, the backward falling starting gate. If you go too soon, you get trapped, and someone has done, right at the back of the pack. Uphill into the first turn. We'd expect to see Antoine Mayo and his Kawasaki dumped there, but they're not. They've survived this time. And at the front, it's Josh Coppins, who's whole shot for Cass Honda. Ahead of Stefan Everts, and again, a great start by Sven Breugelmans on his KTM. Flashing past the orange flash nearest camera. Breugelmans there in third place. Probably not for long. Coppins leads, Everts in second place. The track rutted heavily by now. These guys have got to be careful. They've also got to be fast. Oh, Everts squeezes inside Mikael Pichon. They collide as they go into the outside berm, and Everts, furious, busts the berm completely at the bottom of the hill as he recklessly puts the power down to try and attack the Honda on the climb. The fight for the lead, Coppins versus Mikael Pichon. Stefan Everts has dropped back a little from this furious onslaught, and Pichon it is who takes the lead. Through the first turn, he gets there, and then he leaps almost off the track. But he's at the front now. He's opened up a 7 second advantage over Josh Coppins, and Coppins now under pressure from Stefan Everts, who once again takes that tight inside line. Coppins thought he had that covered, but with Stefan Everts you never can tell. Luigi Segai, a brilliant fourth on his Yamaha. This is Kevin Strybos, who's just got the better of Luigi Segai. There's the Frenchman on the blue Yamaha. Tanel Leok behind them in sixth place. Christian Burnham, an excellent seventh ahead of Jorgensen and Ken Dedeka. And Mark Jones, the Welshman, making his return to Grand Prix action, substituting for the injured Mark Huckelbridge, is there just outside the top 10. Great ride for the Jones boy, who once upon a time, of course, finished on the rostrum in 250 GPs in 1999 when he was a teammate to Stefan Everts at Honda. That was before a badly broken wrist stalled his career. This is Stefan Everts. He knows about injuries, he knows about comebacks. Lost the whole of 1999 and 2000 with injury. A broken leg and then a broken arm, and then success. Everts, 5.8 seconds now clear of Josh Coppins. He's in second place, but he knows he'll lose only 3 points on Mikhail Pichon ahead of him. Josh Coppins third, fourth Strybos, fifth Segai, and sixth Leok. And the lovable gypsy Luigi Segai holding on really well to that fifth place. Jorgensen has finally towed himself up to seventh. Yoshi Atsuta strikes the top 10 in ninth place ahead of Burnham and Jones on Chambers KTM and Fawn Parts KTM respectively. Mikhail Pichon looking comfortable at the front. Plenty of time to look over his shoulder and check out the whereabouts of his pursuer, Stefan Everts. Mikhail Pichon, 28-year-old, 10 times champion of France. Originally the champion of France in the 80cc cadets class in 1988 and 1989. Champion of France Supercross 125, 1991, 1992. And twice the 125c Supercross champion of the USA. Here he is winning the Czech Republic Grand Prix of 2004 ahead of Stefan Everts and Josh Coppins. Kevin Strybos, Suzuki fourth. Luigi Segai, a thunderingly good fifth for the lovable gypsy from the south of France. And Tanel Leok behind him in sixth place. Ninth at Suter, 10th and 11th for the KTMs of Burnham and Jones. And great to see Antoine Mayo finishing 16th instead of upside down on his head. Overall, Mikhail Pichon, a perfect 50, pulls 6 points out of Stefan Everts. Josh Coppins, third overall, ahead of Kevin Strybos and Brian Jorgensen. And Tanel Leok in sixth place. Burnham 9th, Atsuta 12th, and Jones, a great return for the Welshman, the South Welshman. He finishes 14th on the Fawn Parts KTM. Stefan Everts, a handsome lead in the championship. Huge advantage over Mikhail Pichon, who is now convincingly ahead of Josh Coppins. Ramon fourth ahead of Strybos, Malott, Jorgensen and Leok. Christian Burnham, 11th in the championship, ahead of Luigi Segai and Yoshi Atsuta, who's desperate to get into the top 10. And in the manufacturer's standings, Yamaha with a small 8-point advantage over Honda in a battle that'll go right to the end of the season. Round 13, and we come to the greatest circuit in the history of motocross, Namur in Belgium for the Grand Prix of Wallonie, with Mikhail Pichon for the 7th successive GP on pole ahead of Joshua Coppins and Stefan Everts. A delighted, a thrilled Stefan Everts, who became a father 2 days before the event and then rushed to Namur to announce that he'd got a young son, Liam, and then to take part in a race that he won as a wild card in 1998. He loves the place. Can he win again? It's Steve Ramon on KTM who takes the whole shot, though, in front of the packed grandstand here on the Esplanade at Namur before they jump down into the woodlands in one of the most sensational circuits you've ever seen. The yellow flag's out. There's a pile-up that includes the luckless Yves de Maurier, once again a wild card from his MX3 exploits. He goes down heavily right at the outset over the tabletop. Ramon, Everts, Pichon lead the charge, and look at Everts surprising Steve Ramon with an instant burst of power as they go through the woods where it alternates between dark shadow and bright sunlight underneath the famous footbridge, tragically covered up by an L&M banner. And this was Steve Ramon looking like he had a secure lead, and he was edging around the apron when Stefan Everts just blew him away by passing him on the right-hand side, taking the low road. You take the high road, I'll pass you on the low road. And here comes Mikhail Pichon. He doesn't want Stefan Everts to get away. He dives down through the woods now after the Belgian. So first and second places, Everts 72, Pichon 2, Ramon number 11 in third place. Over the whoop section, Steve Ramon losing out to Josh Coppins and Cass Honda. And that amazing airtime over an enormous step-down tabletop into the woods. This really is a phenomenal place. Bit like running a motocross around Hyde Park, really. A premature return for local boy Cedric Malott, who collides with the fence on his way through the trees. And Mikhail Pichon goes down at the bottom of the precipitous drop out through the woods towards the Monument Cafe and Bar. Down he goes. Cedric Malott, he's out of the race. Pichon, however, is recovering, and recovering fast. Passing Julian Bill through the woods. Kevin Strybos next up. This is the leader, Stefan Everts, coming along the roadway where it used to be 100 metres of pure blinding tarmac before they foolishly covered it in dirt in 1995. Number 31, Josh Coppins in second place. The initial climb through the woods, and then turn left along the apron, and then the amazing series of vaulted steps up through the woodland here. Coppins demonstrates it. And right beside you is a huge ravine that's right alongside the castle here at Namur. The gap from Coppins to Ramon, 8.1 seconds. Steve Ramon in third place on his KTM. Stefan Everts dominating the first race here at Namur. Remember his wild card entry in 1998. He came here on a 500 Honda as the reigning 250cc world champion and blew away the 500cc Grand Prix boys to record his first victory here. The greatest riders in history have raced here since the Motocross to Nations first visited at the end of the 1940s. And every great motocrosser there has ever been, really, has been victorious around Namur, including Roger da Costa 7 times. Stefan Everts is going to dominate the first moto and set himself up for a potential overall victory here to celebrate the birth of his son Liam the Thursday before the race. Everts, the daddy, wins. Second place for Josh Coppins and Cas Honda. Third place will go to Steve Ramon. Meanwhile, Stefan Everts acknowledges the plaudits of his fans. Pichon recovers bravely to fourth place ahead of Dodika, Kevin Strybos, Julian Bill and Yoshi Atsuta. Notice Billy McKenzie, Billy Mack, the 20-year-old from Longniddry outside Edinburgh, making a brilliant assault on MX1 with the bike at Dixon's Yamaha. Having survived thousands of eager fans demanding to be photographed with him, indeed having him photographed with a 6-foot-high wooden cutout stalk with Liam written on it, Stefan Everts lines up third on the grid behind Coppins and Pichon to see if he can win race 2. It's hard work being a father. As the conditions get hotter and hotter, the temperature soars to 34 degrees centigrade. It's going to be hard work racing out here as well for 35 minutes plus 2 laps. Miguel Pichon on pole position, gets his head down and the power down on the Tishali Martin Honda, but it's a Suzuki that edges him out into the first turn with Everts in third place. Brian Jorgensen and Yves de Maria crashed across the tabletop in race 1. Thankfully, nobody goes down in race 2 as Everts grabs the advantage into the woods from Pichon, Strybos, Coppins and Tano Leoc. Steve Ramon back in 6th place. And already the flags and banners waving through the woods. Jorgensen, Burnham and Joseph Dobers 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Yoshi Atsuta downfield with a lot of work to do in his desperate attempt to get into the top 10. And the fans lining, and Everts goes down and gets clipped for his troubles by Mikael Pichon, remounts in 4th place. An unexpected mistake from Everts, who just overbrakes and buries the front wheel in the soft rut at the bottom of the steep hill. So Everts this time makes a mistake. Pichon is at the front with the opportunity to make hay and grab an overall verdict. Everts, though, has got back on board, only lightly ruffled in 4th place. He's ahead of Steve Ramon. Can Ramon make any inroads on Everts? He'll know that Everts' rhythm will have been affected by that fall. Having said that, Everts is straight back onto the back wheel of Kevin Strybos and promptly battles past him. Strybos tries to respond, and here comes Ramon. He gets past the Suzuki and alongside Stefan Everts as they go through these wicked adverse cambers into the woods. It's so slick and treacherous down here. And also down there, of course, where Everts fell on the previous lap. This time he avoids that deep sludgy rut and goes for the inside line. Very, very difficult to pass through the woods. Treacherous under the wheels. And Steve Ramon, good to see the aggression from the 125 world champion as he tries to get on terms with Stefan Everts. A man, of course, who beat him on several occasions in 125 GPs last year when he could run both the 125s and MXGP classes. At the front, the fight for the lead. Josh Coppins hanging on to Mikhail Pichon. Again, that massive 40-foot tabletop into the woods. Coppins' wily throttle control finds the high lines. At the moment, a possible second in the Grand Prix for the New Zealander. A possible victory for Mikhail Pichon, but it depends what happens with Stefan Everts. And Steve Ramon is out. A problem for Ramon. The factory KTM has stopped. Steve Ramon in trouble just when he was riding at his blistering best and trying to get the better of Stefan Everts. So that takes the pressure off Everts. And as long as he's in third place, Everts surely will take the overall verdict here. Josh Coppins on his Cass Honda. This is Mikhail Pichon launching off the end of what was once the roadway, and then the right turn up into the woods along the veranda. 9 laps complete. Everts third, Strybos and Leok together, 4th and 5th ahead of Brian Jorgensen. And this is the terrific ascent with a huge ravine on its left-hand side that throws them right back up onto the Esplanade. Look at that view across the ancient town of Namur and the River Meuse in the background. Phenomenal place this. 13th for Mark Jones, the Welshman ahead of James Noble on the RWJ Honda. Stefan Everts riding coolly. He desperately wanted to win here at Namur to celebrate the birth of his first child. Entertainingly, he didn't know that Liam was an Irish name. So Stefan Everts heading for a possible Grand Prix win here at Namur. And he's getting huge support every inch of the way around the track. 12 laps complete for Pichon in front of him. Coppins second. Everts relaxed. He's got an 11-second deficit on Coppins, but he's 9 seconds ahead of the 4th place man. Danny Taber's having the best ride of the season for him, and Monique Pavotz, 35-year-old Pavotz, who will retire at the end of the season, looking strong also in the top 10. But no one looking stronger at the moment than this man. Look at him, he just easily goes over the first 3 of those whoops, almost nonchalantly. That is the Supercross experience of a triumphant Mikhail Pichon. He takes the race victory ahead of Josh Coppins and Stefan Everts. Strybos 4th, Jorgensen 5th, and Leok slipping back to 6th place. Danny Tabers and Monique Pavotz rounding out the leaderboard for Belgium. Atsuta once again top 10 ahead of James Noble. Mark Jones hanging in there for 6 points for 15th place. And overall, Stefan Everts gets the result he so desperately wanted, but only just from Josh Coppins and Mikhail Pichon. Strybos and Leok 4th and 5th overall for the Suzuki team, and Yoshi Atsuta brilliant in 6th. Stefan Everts still handsomely leads the championship. Pichon and Coppins in 2nd and 3rd places. Steve Ramon, Kevin Strybos and Tanel Leok now rounding out the top 6. The historic town of Geldorf lies on the River Kocher in the centre of the Swabian forest between Stuttgart and Munich. Once again, Mikhail Pichon on pole position ahead of Stefan Everts and Josh Coppins for the Grand Prix of Europe here in Germany. A population of just 12,500 people at Geldorf, a cultural centre for the arts, music and architecture, which in the summer becomes the centre of the world of motocross. Pichon in pole position then, on this famous circuit in which the KTM boss Kurt Nickel was victorious back in 1994. Pit Pyro has also won here, but none of these guys are going to, as they are in a heap in these slippery conditions right at the start. Pichon then leads for Tishali Honda. Right behind him, inevitably almost, is Stefan Everts. And just look at the huge natural gullies which can catch riders out. And that looks as if it might have been Steve Ramon rolling end over end after crashing heavily on the descent into the valley. And Steve makes sure that he's visible so that no one's going to hit him down there, but that looked like a painful, certainly high-speed get-off for the Belgian. Stefan Everts leading the pursuit of Mikael Pichon as they come underneath the Red Bull hoop. Antoine Meo has made a phenomenal start for Kawasaki. He's in third place. Fourth, Billy McKenzie on the bike at Dixon's Yamaha, ahead of Josh Coppins and Tanel Leok. So the MX-1's getting some new young blood at last as the nails get bitten, chewed to the quick. Mikael Pichon leads. Here's Antoine Meo, and Billy McKenzie's got the better of him. Billy Mack and Antoine Meo, two young guns side by side in their battle for third place. And the 6-foot-20-year-old Scotsman fighting every inch of the way with the French kid. Oh, wonderful stuff, elbow to elbow. This is what we want to see. Get the camera behind Pichon and Everts. Let's see what's going on in the relative distance, but they're not so far behind. And Josh Coppins has caught up with them now in this fabulous setting, this beautiful German valley here down near Stuttgart. The fight for third position, Antoine Meo, Billy McKenzie, Josh Coppins. Frenchman versus Scotsman versus New Zealander. This famous track first hosted a Grand Prix back in 1976 when the Russian Vladimir Kavinov was victorious for KTM, but the leader Mikael Pichon loses his front wheel and he falls. Desperately grabs the clutch, keeps the engine running, jumps back aboard, but that will have disturbed his rhythm just when he looks as if everything was going smoothly, and Mayo's right with him. So he's suddenly embroiled in the battle for second place. Everts has gone through, but the amazing Antoine Meo on the 250cc two-stroke Kawasaki is with him. And further back, only just further back, Josh Coppins and Billy McKenzie. And suddenly, the leader in almost splendid isolation is Stefan Everts. Everts, who had a fantastic battle with Kurt Nickel here in 1994 before Nickel went on to win his first ever 250cc Motocross Grand Prix on Honda. And look how suddenly things went wrong here for Mikael Pichon. The front wheel just folds underneath him. That shows just how treacherous and slippery this track is. When it's dry, it's blue groove, and when it's like this, it's still equally treacherous. Antoine Meo getting levered to one side by Josh Coppins. And Coppins breaks through into second place, make that third behind Mikael Pichon and the leader Stefan Everts. And the Aprilia's gone out. Thomas Travasini, number 73, the experienced Italian, retires the twin-cylinder Aprilia. Meo's fourth, Leok is fifth, and sixth, Kevin Strybos, as Billy McKenzie suffers a bit and slips downfield. Bavots, Dobus, Dodica are in there. Noble is 10th. Billy McKenzie now in 11th place ahead of Antti Pyronen on the Italian TM. Everts making it look so effortless, and that is so tricky. The adverse cambers round here, so awkward to ride that quick. Delicate throttle control needed. Number 211, Billy McKenzie, about to get lapped now by number 72, Stefan Everts, despite the fact he's in 12th place. 13th place is the Latvian Loris Freebergs, number 74. But Stefan Everts with a 7.4 second lead over this man, Mikael Pichon, whose season ended, remember, last year right here at Geldorf when he fell awkwardly in a slow-speed crash and wrecked his knee. So understandably being perhaps a little cautious here as Freebergs goes elbow to elbow with Billy McKenzie now for 12th place. And McKenzie manages to hold off the Latvian and hang on to that 12th place right in the wheel tracks of race winner Stefan Everts, celebrating the fact that his son Liam is attending his first Motocross Grand Prix right here today. Pichon second, Coppins third, Meo a splendid fourth on the 252-stroke Kawasaki ahead of Strybos, Leok, Dobus and Ken Dodica. Marnique Bavots and James Noble round out the top 10. McKenzie there, a hard-working 12th place. Race 2 at Geldorf brings together once again the battle of the dads. Father of Zach, Mikael Pichon, and brand new father of Liam, Stefan Everts. Josh Coppins lines up third on the grid, ahead of number 4, fourth place Steve Ramon, who has painkillers due to having damaged his leg when he fell in race 1. Not surprisingly, that was a big, high-speed get-off for the 24-year-old 125 world champion. Mikael Pichon, forever on pole position. Inside him, Stefan Everts. This a critical moment as the riders take off from the starting gate, and a bad start there for Stefan Everts, who ends up legging his way off the gate, gets swallowed up into the pack, but notice how he cleverly stays right on the inside to give himself the best possible chance of emerging unscathed. Mikael Pichon at the front. Ramon is there, Mio again is there, Tunnel Leoch with Everts back in 6th or 7th place, fighting with Josh Coppins, and he nudges Coppins wide down in the valley, right underneath the Belgian flag, and moves through into 3rd place. The amazing thing about Everts is how much ground he can make up early in a race. He really puts his mind to it. And now he's got Steve Ramon in his sights. Ramon, as I said, on painkillers after injuring his leg in race 1, and he looks a little bit cautious on that right-hand side. This the battle for 2nd place. Ramon, Everts, Coppins. And you can see swirling grey clouds and blue sky above the track here at Geldorf. Everts has won here before, of course. Pichon, Ramon, Everts at the front, Coppins, Mayo and Tunnel Leoch ahead of Billy McKenzie, making another good start ahead of Luigi Segai and Christian Burnham. Geldorf, scene of some terrific trophy and motocross to nations victories for the USA, of course, back in 1982 and 1985, and again led by Jeff Stanton in 1989. Here in 2004, it's the turn of Stefan Everts in pursuit of leader Mikael Pichon. Can the Yamaha get to the front? Winner of the first race. He knows that the second race result is critical if he's to split the verdict in his favour with Mikael Pichon. 3rd place for Josh Coppins. And here is the battle on between Luigi Segai and Antoine Meo. Segai has really locked horns with people before around here at Geldorf in 125 GPs memorably. And here he is once again, the reckless gypsy from the south of France, locking horns with his countryman Antoine Meo. Segai lapping faster than Meo, grabs the advantage. At the front, Stefan Everts finds himself almost 8 seconds ahead now of his pursuer Josh Coppins as they plunge down through the valley against that wall of spectators who gathered here so eagerly in 1999 to see their hero Pit Beirer hopefully become world champion. But Pit Beirer had a nightmare day that day and the championship went askew. Mikael Pichon, 13 laps complete. Stefan Everts nearly 15 seconds behind him now in 2nd place. Pichon, of course, double World 250cc champion for Suzuki in 2001, 2002. Winner of the record number of consecutive Grand Prix races, 13. And certainly looking for a victory here in the 2nd race at Geldorf. As things stand right now, Pichon will take this Grand Prix and Everts will have to wait to clinch his title. Pichon, another father to be, in fact. He has a son, Zach, but his wife, Stephanie, is expecting their 2nd baby at the end of the year. Stefan Everts, looking forward to visiting Ireland and clinching his championship there, perhaps, with his son, Liam, in his arms. He says that his fiancée, Kelly, also has an Irish name, so there couldn't be a better place to win a championship for them than Ireland. Into the final lap, keeping the championship open by a mathematical whisker, is Mikael Pichon. Stephanie keeping a close eye on him. And he looks pretty pleased with himself. It'll be another Grand Prix win then for number 2, Mikael Pichon. He laps number 77, Marko Kovalainen. and takes the checkered flag. The man who first ever won a Grand Prix, the 125cc French Grand Prix 10 years ago in 1994. Takes victory ahead of Stefan Everts, Josh Coppins and Luigi Segai. Billy McKenzie scores his best ever MX1 result ahead of Kevin Strybos and Josef Dobes, and behind the remarkable Steve Ramon. But Antoine Mayo is sidelined with a broken rear shock as James Noble enters the top 10 in 9th place for RWJ Honda. And Gordon Crockard making his comeback after being stricken by injury. The Ulsterman and British Open champion finishes 14th. Pichon then takes the tiebreaker ahead of Stefan Everts to win the European Grand Prix at Geldorf, with Josh Coppins third. And look at Billy Mack, 7th ahead of James Noble. Everts so close to that 8th world title. Pichon second, Coppins third. Tanel Leok and Kevin Strymos still there, 6th and 5th respectively for Suzuki. After an 8-year absence, Motocross Grand Prix racing returns to Ireland. Ballykelly in Northern Ireland. Michael Pichon, would you believe, yet again on pole position ahead of Josh Coppins and Stefan Everts. Home hero Gordon Crockard from Newtownards in 14th place, continuing his comeback from a long layoff with a knee injury. Everts, of course, looking to top a World Championship with a Grand Prix victory as they surge into the first turn, and an astonishing leader emerges. It's number 202, the 22-year-old Cumbrian 125cc star Wayne Smith. Normally rides a 125cc two-stroke KTM. He's out on the 450 four-stroke. He rode it for the first time midweek, and here he is with the cream of the MX1 Grand Prix circus behind him. So an astonishing start then here in the sunshine and squalls of Northern Ireland for Wayne Smith, the boy from Cumbria. Cedric Malott, number 7, is the man in pursuit. Probably not quite able to believe who this guy he's never heard of is just in front of him. Stefan Everts in 3rd place. 4th, number 12, Danny Tabers making a good start on his Yamaha as Malott finally gets round the outside of Wayne Smith. So Smith demoted to 2nd place. Stefan Everts is 3rd. And finally the Yamahas move through 1st and 2nd at the end of lap 1. Pichon also goes through into 3rd place. Wayne Smith is 4th. Pichon desperately trying to keep the championship open. He knows it can't be for too long, but he has his sights set on number 72, Stefan Everts. Everts so close to becoming world champion for a colossal 8th time. Oof. And Pichon surviving a very, very tough landing, but he's got the better of Stefan Everts. He's riding the ragged edge. He's got to the front. There's been a lot of rain through the week here in Northern Ireland, and you can see the effect it's had on the track, but sand tracks are usually good at absorbing moisture, and this one is in really great nick as Stefan Everts retakes the lead in this battle of the giants. Everts desperate to win this race because 25 years ago in 1979, as a 6-year-old, he was at Slane outside Dublin for the Irish 125 Grand Prix when his father Harry clinched his first ever 125cc Motocross World Championship for Suzuki. But Pichon once again getting the advantage. Everts at the front, Pichon second, huge puddles of water everywhere, and a crowd of 12,000 Irish fans enjoying Grand Prix action once again. Pichon getting urged on by the Tishali Martin Honda camp. Leads Stefan Everts by 0.4 of a second. Coppins 3rd, Malott in 4th place. Honda Yamaha. Ooh, Everts gets the front wheel a little high. Further showers keep dampening the track, keeping the sand heavy for the riders as Mikael Pichon comes up to lap Danny Tabers, who's had an early mishap after gating so well at the beginning. Everts not giving up on this one. He desperately wants to clinch his World Championship with a victory. Into the last lap. This superb track at Ballykelly producing dramatic racing. Immaculately prepared by Don Shields, the landowner, and Ken Winstanley, the promoter. Pichon, Everts, right until the last gasp here on the final lap. Everts right in the wheel tracks of the Honda. Can he find a way through as they bounce downhill? Pichon Honda, Everts Yamaha, one of them's got to win. These guys are all tense. What does it feel like being on the bike? Through those ruts, those deep, treacherous ruts. Up the hill and over the hilltop. Oh, absolutely everywhere. Look at the back wheel of that Honda. He's taking huge risks here. It's slapping from side to side, getting huge swaps on, but he's hanging on to it. He looks over his shoulder now. He knows that victory is his. Mikael Pichon, full bore on the final lap of a dramatic 40-minute race here in Ireland. This is only the first of two legs as well. Back markers running for cover really as the checkered flag goes out, and it's a great victory for that man Mikael Pichon ahead of Stefan Everts. Josh Coppins left languishing, not surprisingly, by that phenomenal battle in third place ahead of Cedric Malott, Steve Ramon, Kevin Strybos, Ken Dedeka and Marnik Bavots. Where do the Belgians come from when it gets sandy? Even Danny Tabers, who got lapped, finishes in 9th place ahead of Loris Freebergs and Marco Kovalainen. But this man claims his 8th World Championship here in Ireland, 25 years after his dad Harry claimed his 2nd. Newly crowned world champion Stefan Everts comes to the line for race 2 of the Irish Motocross Grand Prix at Ballykelly, set on winning the 2nd race and with it the overall verdict here in Ulster. We're also looking for local hero Gordon Crockard to continue his comeback from serious knee surgery earlier in the year. And what about the volatile Scotsman Billy McKenzie, qualified in 12th place on the bike at Dixon's Yamaha number 211. And of course the first race winner, Mikael Pichon, number 2 on the Tishali Martin Honda. But look at Josh Coppins storming to the front. The British Open Championship leader heads off the Yamahas. He hits the front and McKenzie gets another good start. So too does Stefan Everts. Inevitably, he's ahead of Mikael Pichon where he wanted to be. But there's a bit of a pile-up at the bottom of the hill. And Wayne Smith, the unlucky Cumbrian who hole shot and led the first lap of race 1, is one of the fallers. So too is Steve Ramon, as Everts has a lurid moment pouring downhill there. The back end steps right out on him, but he's got the lead that he wanted. He surprised Josh Coppins early in the first lap, and Everts, where does he get the motivation from? The man from Monte Carlo is in the lead. Crockard makes a brilliant start. He's in 4th place. Leoch 5th. Billy McKenzie in 6th place. So good to see some new names coming back to the fore. Crockstar, of course, won his first Grand Prix back in Y2K. Anxious faces in the pit box. This is the amazing Stefan Everts. Already getting in amongst some of the guys who suffered in that first turn pile-up. And in the early stages of this race, determined to put as much room as he can between himself and 2nd place man, Mikael Pichon. And this tough, tortuous, sandy, stony circuit at Ballykelly is really claiming some victims today. Everts, Pichon, Coppins are the top 3. This is Coppins, number 31. This is Michele Rinaldi, looking well chuffed with life. Josh Coppins, he's in 3rd. But Antoine Mayo, we thought that his luck had turned in Germany, but he's crashed out of the 2nd race here in Ballykelly on his De Groot Kawasaki. Meanwhile, back on track, Stefan Everts in the lead. Behind him, Mikhail Pichon and Josh Coppins, as Wayne Smith is forced to retire on the Chambers KTM, having made a big impact in his MX1 debut. James Noble, number 34, the 23-year-old North Yorkshireman, down in 15th place, currently lies second in the British Open Championship behind Josh Coppins, who is fourth in this race ahead of Kevin Strybos and Billy McKenzie. Crockard 7th, Steve Ramon 8th, 9th Cedric Malott. And this is another guy who's about to become a dad. It's amazing. It's a disease spreading happily around the Motocross Grand Prix paddock. Stefan Everts beginning to hit the cruise button now. He's got a comfortable advantage as conditions worsen a little. He's even going outside the stakes to find the smoothest line. Almost 10 seconds clear now of Mikhail Pichon as the rain drives down again once more here in Northern Ireland. That's James Noble already lapped. This is Mikhail Pichon in second place. And this event was preceded by a week of absolutely glorious weather. Try telling that to Mikhail Pichon as he battles his way through in front of a disappointed Tishali Martin team, who can see the virtual GP winner, the man who's about to win his 78th Motocross Grand Prix. He won 13 125 GPs in 1991 and 2003, 38 250 GPs from 1993 to 1999, 8 Motocross Grand Prix in 2003, 6 MX1 GPs in 2004, this is about to become the 6th, and 13 500 Grand Prix in 97, 2001 and 2002. What sort of a record is that? Well, I'll tell you, it's a pretty remarkable one. His inspiration originally his dad, and also the legendary Joël Robert, winner of 6 world titles and 50 Grand Prix. And Joël has handed the baton over quite happily to this remarkable guy. Stefan Everts wins the Irish Grand Prix of 2004, and one of the first people over there to congratulate him is his little dad, Harry, who won the Irish Motocross Grand Prix of 1979, just outside Dublin. Now 31 years old, Stefan Everts landed his first factory contract with Suzuki at the age of 16, with his father, Harry, as his mechanic. Who better? And 2 years later, in 1991, clinched his first and only 125cc World Championship. Since then, he's gone on from strength to strength. This, his 78th Grand Prix win ahead of Mikhail Pichon and Tanel Leok. A great ride by Leok in the second race. Also, Billy McKenzie in 6th place. Gordon Crockard continuing a successful rehabilitation just behind him in 7th. Everts, the overall winner on a tiebreaker with Pichon. Josh Coppins also mounts the rostrum. And great to see McKenzie in 7th place overall behind Cedric Malott. Tanel Leok 11th on the overall, and Gordon Crockard 13th ahead of James Noble. Everts now world champion. Mikhail Pichon second, Josh Coppins in 3rd place. Yoshi Atsuta, desperate to get into the top 10, still stuck in 12th. Sun City in South Africa. Mikhail Pichon for the 14th time this year out of 16 on pole position ahead of Stefan Everts and Josh Coppins. Only one time previously, back in 1985, have we seen a Grand Prix on South African shores. That was won by Mikhail Pichon's advisor and trainer, Jackie Vimon. Can Mikhail do it again right here in Sun City? Greg Albertine, 3 times world champion, coming out of retirement to race here for the final time in front of his home crowd. And as the flying stones clear, it looks like Josh Coppins getting the whole shot here in Sun City. But look at Stefan Everts trying to make up ground by clearing a huge double in the opening stages. This specially built track here in South Africa, across the massive tabletop. Huge jumps have always been a big feature of South African tracks, and it's Pichon who's nosed his way to the front now, with Everts second and Coppins in 3rd. So the battle being joined once more by Mikhail Pichon and Stefan Everts. fighting it out on rough, grainy, coarse sand here in Sun City. Pichon leads, Everts in second place. And notice how the earth changes between certain sections of this track. A real challenge. They're back onto the hard pack here, where it gets slick. Everts looking as determined as ever to put it over Pichon in this final Grand Prix of the season, even though his World Championship is nigh tied up. The battle on between Kevin Strybos and Josh Coppins for third and fourth places. Steve Ramon is fifth. Sixth place for James Noble, a brilliant start for the North Yorkshireman on RWJ Honda. Here comes Everts, hitting the berm hard and wide, turning sharply. Billy McKenzie in 8th place behind the amazing Wayne Smith as Kevin Strybos gets alongside and passes Josh Coppins. Colin Dugmore, returning to South Africa at the age of 36, is in the top 12. The battle for podium places. This is Strybos versus Coppins. At the front, it's Pichon versus Stefan Everts. And this is great for the South African riders, of course, returning to ride in front of their home crowd for the first time in a Grand Prix. And that is what dragged Greg Albertine, three-time world champion and also American 250cc champ, out of retirement. This is Colin, the geek, Dugmore, now based in Germany, riding for Sarholz Honda. Oh, and that's Greg Albertine, the great Albie, world champion in 92, 93 and 94, drops his Suzuki, keeps the engine running, jumps back on board, but that won't do his position any good at all. And what happened to Albertine? The slick track, I would think, just caught him out as he dived into that downhill left-hander. But he's back on board, showing the style that we knew and loved during the 1990s. Mikael Pichon, looking perfectly poised on this really hard pack, slick surface that suddenly turns into that strange, sandy wasteland. Pichon lapping faster than Stefan Everts. And Stefan doesn't look to be able to do anything about the Frenchman right now, today. Josh Coppins in third place, 10 seconds behind Everts in second. Coppins, of course, heading for third place in the championship, in fact already confirmed as third placeman in the championship at the end of a successful season. Strybos fourth, fifth Steve Ramon, and in sixth place, brilliantly, is Billy McKenzie. This is Cedric Malotte. He's down in 10th place, chasing Tanel Leok, Yoshi Atsuta and James Noble. Noble having his absolute best ride of the season. Joshua Coppins, already crowned British Open champion back home, well, back in his adopted home, although he's based mainly in Belgium. Mikael Pichon leading Stefan Everts, who has now got a 20-second advantage over the Cass Honda of Coppins. Pichon in front of the crowd of estimated about 4,000 or 5,000 people here in Sun City. Coppins third, Strybos, Ramon and Billy McKenzie almost a minute behind the leader, but it doesn't matter, he's there in sixth place ahead of Cedric Malotte. Oh, and down goes Kevin Strybos. That simply looked like tiredness in the heat here in South Africa. Strybos getting completely crossed up as he hit the ramp of that little skip-off jump, and it just folded up underneath him. Just like that. So easy to do. Well, it looked quite elegant. We'll give him 9 out of 10 for style. Strybos picks himself back up. Pichon, meantime, consistently quick at the front, heading for the checkered flag here. And the return to South Africa of the Motocross Grand Prix circus is going to result in a victory for the Frenchman. Takes the checkered flag with Stefan Everts in second place. Third Coppins, fourth Strybos, fifth Ramon, sixth Billy Mackenzie, an excellent sixth ahead of Cedric Malott, who squeezed past James Noble in the closing laps into seventh place. Tanner Leoch back in 10th place ahead of Yoshi Atsuta, Antti Pyrinen's Italian TM, and Colin Dugmore 13th. Sun City marks the final Grand Prix for Belgian veteran Monique Bavots. At 35 years old, the longest-serving member of the Motocross Grand Prix fraternity, runner-up in the 250 World Championships 3 times between 1995 and 1997, Monique will hang up his helmet after this race. Stefan Everts flanked by Josh Coppins and Mikael Pichon, but it's another Honda, Yoshi Atsuta, who grabs his first whole shot of the year for Cass Honda as the field crunches itself up against the barrier on the outside of the first turn, and Greg Albertine, the great Albie, is there in second place. Greg Albertine, 3 times world champ and once AMA 250cc national champion in the States for Suzuki, is there in second place on bike 511. Great to see fresh faces at the front. They don't come much fresher than Atsuta, but what about Greg Albertine, right there in second place, the man who defeated Stefan Everts in 1993 and 94 in the 250cc World Championship Series. Everts is there on the charge, but Atsuta is still at the front with Albie behind him. Everts now third. Atsuta versus Albertine. Who'd have thought at the front of the South African Motocross Grand Prix of 2004? Albertine, whose American career has been overseen by the legendary Roger DeCosta, of course, at Suzuki America. And he's taken the lead. Amazing. Greg Albertine, his first chance to race a Grand Prix on home soil, and he's in the lead. Atsuta now second. Everts still there pressing in third, but Mikael Pichon is now getting closer and closer to his adversary. Pichon winning that first race, but Stefan Everts has gone down, and there's been a coming together with Mikael Pichon, and Everts is not happy. He slings his goggles at Pichon as Pichon comes round a lap later. And a disgruntled, newly crowned world champion, and Stefan Everts rides across the front of Mikael Pichon now to block Pichon's way, and he really is deeply unhappy about whatever went on between the two of them on that second lap. Back in 6th place now, Mikael Pichon. He's got a lot of work to do if he's to win this Grand Prix. First, he's got to see his way through the dust. He's got to hope that Stefan Everts has finally pulled off the track and out of his way. So Pichon now back in 6th place. This is Albertine. Getting caught though by the Frenchman, side by side. Another Suzuki just ahead of Pichon now. And the Frenchman, probably the red mist has come down, and he's just desperate to get to the front. 28-year-old Mikael Pichon, runner-up in the World Championship of 2004, did something to grossly offend the newly crowned world champ Stefan Everts. Coppins leads, Ramon is in second place, Strybos third. This man, Mikael Pichon, has made it through into 4th place. Steve Ramon challenging the leader Josh Coppins, just 1.7 seconds behind the Kiwi, with Pichon now through to 3rd place ahead of Strybos. Albertine still there in 5th place ahead of Atsuta, proving the value of a good start. And a chastened Stefan Everts has returned apologetically to the pits after his fit of pique. He felt that his front wheel was wiped out by Mikael Pichon in an unnecessarily brutal piece of overtaking on lap 2. This is the battle for 2nd place. Pichon versus Ramon. Coppins surely is going to claim the 2nd race win of the year for himself and Cass Honda here in South Africa. And Pichon headed perhaps for a Grand Prix win in the final round of the series. Ramon glancing over his shoulder. A A sign that he's a bit anxious about who's right behind him. Does he know who's right behind him? He crosses to the inside line. Pichon railroading round the outside. Terrific head of steam on. Forces his way through the inside and takes second place. And with it, overall victory in the Sun City Grand Prix of South Africa, the virtual GP winner. At the front though, it's Josh Coppins who's going to take the checkered flag for his second race victory of the season. His previous one, of course, at Arraton on the Isle of Wight. Coppins wins. Second place goes to Mikael Pichon, third place to KTM Steve Ramon. Well, the story was all about the disenchanted Stefan Everts, and the newly crowned MX2 World Champion Ben Townley congratulates his friend and compatriot Josh Coppins. Yoshi Tsuta in fifth place got the better of Greg Albertine. They finished ahead of Cedric Malott and Marco Kovalainen. James Noble in 10th place to round off a solid season ahead of Christian Burnham. And overall, Pichon, Coppins and Steve Ramon mount the rostrum. Strybos, Malott and Atsuta don't, but good race results for Atsuta, Noble and a doubtless disappointed Stefan Everts. Greg Albertine waves bye-bye in 13th place. The FIM's Francesco Zerbi presents the trophy to Mikael Pichon. He's on top of the rostrum at the final Grand Prix of 2004. But Stefan Everts is the world champion for the 8th time. Mikael Pichon finishes second in the championship, Joshua Coppins third. Stefan Everts will be back on Yamaha in 2005. Pichon and Coppins still with Honda, and the whole fight will start all over again. So congratulations Stefan Everts and Yamaha, World Champions 2004.